Hey, hello guys. I'm going live a little bit early right now, just because the preview, oh, it looks like it's working, okay. The preview for the live stream on my thing is completely fucked, so the actual live stream itself looks like it's working just fine. So let me just quickly post the link, and then we'll get started. But yeah, so, bit more quick, gonna make a little pipe. Cool. So, yeah, what am I doing? So I'm a little bit disorientated right now, just because I kind of started the stream early because the preview was kind of bugged. Basically, on my screen for streaming it, the actual preview of the video is just showing basically the top left, like you can barely see any of the screen, which is really weird. So I'm just gonna get myself set up and then get on with it, I guess. I'll be doing the little pipe monster today. That's the general plan anyway. So I'm going to be working on the little guy, basically a flying spaghetti monster, but coming out of a drain pipe. Let's see if we have a bit of fun with that. Let's make a bit of room on my desk. 1 second. Turn that down. Oh, sorry. Still getting used to the phone as well. There we go. Android is weird after 5-6 years of iPhone. But yeah, so let's get that drawing open. So I think it was this one. Yeah, so the plan is to make this little guy. So we'll make a quick little eye, duplicate it around, model 2 little stems to his eyes, and then the rest of it is going to be hair. So not entirely sure if I want to go with this style in terms of like thin clumps that are kind of going every which direction. Let me just refresh the live stream. Because that little preview in the top left is really confusing, and I still like that. Weird, super weird. I just have to ignore that. But yeah, so yeah, we're working on this little guy. I'm just going to get on with it because it's quite a simple model, really. There's not a huge amount of stuff to do. Obviously, we spent the last stream working on the little mouse down here, which looks like this in the final render. So, you know, it's arguably not worth all the time, but yeah, so be it. I enjoyed making it. We've still got to groom the guy in here, the guy in there, and this little pipe guy, and maybe something in this window. Not entirely sure on that yet. I might just do like a separate groom for like random bits of fur that kind of come out wherever. So maybe like a piece of fur that's kind of coming around this corner, one that's coming out here, one that's coming out there. Just give the impression of monsters being like stacked, like really absolutely everywhere. We'll see kind of if that idea plays out or not. I'm not entirely sure on it yet. But yeah, so let's get that in a second. I'll put my phone down there. There we go. So yeah, let's get started. I'll have to find some reference as well. Let's go to perspective. So we're gonna have to hide all the grooms. I do like how this little groom came out. It's very, very simple, very rough, but I enjoy the way it looks. Like it's kind of quirky, but in a way that I kind of enjoy. I need to stop saying kind of. But yeah, the strays are really cool. I like how that turned out. So yeah, let's get this all hidden. Oh, let's keep that consistent. There we go. So we got our little pipe monster, which is going to sit in here. Our environment is currently sat in a layer, so we'll have to do that. So how does this look if I smooth it? Is it worth smoothing it? I guess so. So I'm going to need to put some dents in it eventually. Although I'm not entirely happy with how that profile holds up, in that it doesn't hold up. So I'll have to fix that at some point. For now, I'll just duplicate this guy and remove that duplicate from this layer. And then if I hide everything, Oh, I need to hide it from that layer. Remove from layer. No? Oh, because it's groups, isn't it? Okay. So pipe 1 is that guy. Okay, so let's get that out there. So now that, cool. Hide geogroup. So all I'm gonna do for this monster, we basically just need, like, I'm not gonna model a body in here because that's beyond pointless. Like, it's I know that I do a lot of pointless stuff on this project, but that is a little bit too far for me. So I'm going to, well, let's get rid of this guy while I'm at it, actually. So yeah, what I'm going to do is basically just close this hole here. In fact, I'm going to delete the end, close this hole, and then delete everything except that. So that's our basic mesh. Then let's just quickly extrude the edges. I know that's now bigger than the pipe itself, so we're just going to freeze transforms and make it, modify center pivot is what I meant to do. And scale it down a little bit. So I don't need it to fill the pipe perfectly, the filler's going to do that for me. So now we just need it to connect up. Oh, you bastard. Okay, so it's not actually a nice number. So we're going to have to do that. And this guy I will smooth. There we go. So, modify freeze transformations. Let's give it some basic UVs. Mapping, let's just give it a automatic, no, camera based. If I'm going to do camera based, I'll do that. Mapping, camera based. Cool, now let's get into the UVs. Just make sure that's worked. Cool, so we just need to scale that down now. Don't know why the, oh, that listens to the background, doesn't it? Cool. So he's all frozen. We need to name this monster. So this is going to go into a group. And the monster, let's just call it Pipe Monster. Pipe Monster Group. And we'll call it Child Pipe Monster. Is that the convention we went with? Character group. No, it's just Pipe Monster. Okay, cool. So that can go in there. I'm going to hide all these guys just to make the scene a bit lighter. Really? Hiding some meshes crashed it? Alright. We'll make that again then. It did save though, apparently. Oh no, I saved. Cool. Okay, so apparently hiding meshes is now capable of crashing stuff. Honestly, kind of impressed. Cool. Got that going. Don't need that. Modeling Maya scenes. Just looking for that. There it is. Color space issue. Cool. So we're gonna have to hide everything again. Yep. Okay, so this didn't save recently apparently. That's fine, so be it. let's just hide the character layer again, or hide the characters even. I don't know what happened earlier. So I'll just quickly do that. Cool. So this is my pipe that I'm going to start with. Again, just do that. Fill a hole, and then just realize there's a quicker way to do everything, so I'm just going to select everything, deselect that. Delete. Multi-cut. Cool, and then let's just grab all these edges, extrude, green, smooth, then do a camera-based UV mapping, camera-based, delete history again, UV set it to unfold. Then layout and scale it down. Is that wide? There we go. Cool. So now modify freeze transformations and center pivot. Group. And then this one is pipe monster group. Hide all that. Cool. So we need to name this mesh. So this one's going to be pipe monster base geo. We'll be modeling eyes and stuff in after we've got the group, to be honest, because it's kind of, you know, they're detached anyway. There's no point me worrying about what's the word I'm looking for right now? I'm not entirely sure what the word is. We'll get there eventually. That works. I need UVing at some point. Right. So I'm gonna need Groom on this. Let's go Yeti. And to begin with, I'm just gonna see if I can do stuff with just modifiers rather than guides, which is not a good workflow, but at the same time, I can probably get something usable out of it. So there's no reason not to, I guess. So let's get a Yeti node on mesh. And this one will have to be for, oh shit, what's the naming convention I went with? I keep forgetting my naming conventions. Okay, so it's just pipe monster. Yeah, pipe monster fuzz. Pipe monster for fuzz. Then finally group that. And then it's char pipe monster Yeti group. Drop that in there. And I should have been saving that whole time, but oh well, we're here now. So yeah, I'll probably be streaming until about, what time is it now? So it's about to become 7, so I'll stream until about 9, I think, maybe half 9. Because I kind of want to, again, chill tonight. I quite like streaming earlier than 8, to be honest, because it gives me my evenings back. Like after doing this, I can normally like play some games and stuff like that. I'll be playing Call of Duty tonight. They've released new zombies stuff, and I am a bitch for zombies, so. Modify free transformations. So let's get the Yeti graph editor open. And let's just very quickly smash through again some stuff here. And of course we need the groom selected. This one doesn't need locking. Let's go 1000. Some really weird display bug happening there. Hello mate, hope all is good. Thanks man. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well here. How about you? And do you render with Arnold GPU? No, I'm not rendering with Arnold GPU. I use the CPU version. Just because the computer that I'm on at the moment, I went cheap on the GPU. I got an RTX 2070. This is over a year ago now. The 3080 wasn't available then. But the CPU is a Ryzen 3950X. So I stay with CPU rendering just because it's the most powerful for my setup. Right, so we're gonna need a width. I'm going to figure out what I'm doing. Let's just do. Should I go the gross route of like hair in the drain? Hair in drain. God, it is grim looking, isn't it? Like, should I go the path? So this is the least disgusting of the images. Should I go down the path of doing this type of hair, where it's like coils and super tight clumps, like really tight clumps with some strays that just do completely their own thing? Or should I go the completely matted route? That's something I'll have to figure out. But for now, let's get a width on there. Get this down to human levels. So let's crank that density way up, add another 0. And we're going to need to duplicate all that. And this one will need to be locked. And let's go there. Oh, I don't need that. And we'll just clump that up. What does Yeti have that XGen doesn't? Because everyone I know uses XGen. Yeti has a much nicer pipeline, basically. I mean, I'm normally an XGen guy as well. I mean, there's a reason I wrote Beginner's Guide to XGen and did the Flip Normals tutorials. It's because I like XGen a lot. But I'm shifting to Yeti at the moment just to learn something else. I've been using XGen for years now, and I find it kind of boring. I quite like the way that Yeti approaches stuff. There's a lot of really dumb stuff I do not like the way it does clumps at all. But that's something I just kind of have to learn to deal with. Speaking of which, I need to do some crazy shit. So let's get something like that. How crazy are we going to go with this? And why is it not affecting all the way the root? Oh, is that the clump? Oh, you bastard. Okay. So something like that. Okay. So we're going to need way more CVs. We know that much. Let's take that to like 32. Okay. And then let's take this one to 16, because I'm going to be adding a frizz to some of those hairs. So what we're going to need now to stop this from doing all kinds of weirdness. There we go. So what we need to do now is to get this to actually work is convert these, because the problem that I've got is when I do this scraggle, I don't really like using maintain length, but the problem is when you turn maintain length off, the clumping in Yeti doesn't really like clumps being a different length for the rest of your hairs. So you have to make sure that these hairs are the same length as whatever your clumps are doing. So the workaround that I like to do is create a convert node. And what I can do is I can use that to turn the fibers into strands. Now strands are what Yeti refers to guides as. So if I just grab this mesh, I can now plug this in to the grow, which as I turn this on and off, we're now seeing that the the clumps are doing exactly what these heads are telling it to, basically. So I'm going to turn that back on. And that's not working. Why is that not working? Oh, because I still need to do that. There we go. So that now just behaves a little bit better than just going direct. Makes it much easier to control. Let's go lower in the frequency. We only need a lot more randomness as well. We will be adding guides to kind of make this, you know, human readable, but for now we don't need to. So let's get this base attraction a lot stronger. Let's put base attraction all the way to top. Oh, it is all the way to top. So Scraggle, reduce that root Scraggle. Or I need to get into the habit of learning how to use these. So I'm gonna multiply this with a curve. So let's go curve, and then this will be strand U. And then I want position 0 to have a value of 0 and a interpolation of 3. Let's space that out to make it really readable. And then I want position of 0.1 to have a value of 1 and a interpolation of 3, I guess. No. Oh. There we go. Cool. So what this now lets me do is control the strength. This is basically in XGen, you've got the curve to control the strength of Scraggles and clumping. Well, Yeti has that too, but it's in a really unfriendly looking expression. Honestly, the expressions in Yeti are complete dog shit. They can do a lot, but the way they function is just not fair, really. So let's just get... I still haven't learned what max distance does, to be honest. Like, entirely what it does anyway. It allows it to loosen the clump, but I'm wondering, like, why does it do that? Yeah, so let's get a little bit less base attraction. Then let's get a Scraggle here. And this one we want to create some strays. So we're just going to do a Scraggle multiplier. And I'm going to set that to be hash ID less than 0.2. Cool. So that makes it so that 20% of hairs are considered stray, which honestly might be a bit high. So let's make that lower. And then let's fix this clumping. We need to randomize this, don't we? So let's do a pick. Pick. And it's ID. Well, let's do ID plus 1. ID plus 1, let's pick 15 to 30 and divide that by 100. No, I've figured something out wrong there. 150 to 300 is what I meant to say. There we go. Cool. Cool, so let's just do a quick preview render of that. So what I get going on the preview render is like super quick. And then I'll start doing some guide work. So get temp cam. That's still locked. So let's unlock. Cool. Something like that. And let's just alt-save the scene while we're at it. So it's going to look super weird because there's no guides in there. I'm just looking more at the hair structure, like how's that working. So we don't have a shader on there yet, so it's going to look kind of funky. Oh yeah, because I didn't lock the density, did I? Or did I? Let's go lower res. This is a bit intense. Let's go 1K. I could even do a global bend, like move all the hair in a direction of down. Because then I don't have to do guides. Cool, so that width obviously has to go down. So the width, there we go. Although, one thing to remember is that when I add a shader, it's going to feel thinner still. That feels like a much more correct amount of hair though. Or a correct thickness of hair, so let's get a little bit more geometry on there. Let's go to 48. Cool. Then next thing, let's get that scatter density up a bit. So let's double it for now. And then I probably should do the thing I usually do, which is, oh shit, what is it that I usually do? Oh yeah, separate the strays into a separate thing, so I can keep changing my density without changing the amount of strays. There we go. So let's get that paused. So I'm going to copy you there. Cool. I know I'm doing this width twice when I don't need to, but I actually do generally like doing that. So the percentage is currently set to 0.1, so let's just set that to 1. And then what I need to do from here is divide this by 10, which just means remove a 0. So that's the amount of strays we had. So now I need that clump as well, don't I? Yeah, because the clump's doing all the shaping. Okay, so copy that. Okay, this is kind of messy. might delete the way I'm setting this up right now. Yeah, it doesn't do all that. Don't like that setup. But that setup was getting pretty horrible. Normally that sort of setup would work fine if the guides are doing the shaping, but the guides aren't doing anything. In fact, there are basically no guides. So we're gonna need to start doing some stuff here. So let's do a direction. And let's see if I can figure out how to do this, because I've not actually done this before. So we basically just need this to direct everything down. So let's just say 0, then -1, 0. Does that work? Oh, wrong kind of bracket. That's the wrong type of node. I know there's a way to do like a gravity type thing. Maybe a transform would work. Oh, we can't mask that, can we? Yes, I don't think so. Let's try this. Let's go -1. Okay. So now let's copy this and multiply it. Nah, it doesn't work. Oh wait, hold on. No, okay, that doesn't work. We'll have to try that. Hey Alberto, what's better action Yeti? I don't like those questions because there is no better. Use whatever you want to use. Watch whatever tutorials you want to watch and play about with it. Because there is no best. It's something I used to say. I used to say X-Gen all the time, because I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. As time's gone on, I've realized there is no best. Like, it depends entirely on what you're doing. Like, if you're doing creatures, if you're doing feathers, then I'd say Yeti is better. If you're doing like regular characters, maybe X-Gen. If you're doing creature work, then debatably Yeti. But neither of them is better than the other. There's no best in CG software. Except ZBrush and sculpting. ZBrush, I'd say, is pretty objectively the best. Right, so there should be a way to do this, but I'm just going to do guides because I should be using guides anyway. So let's just grab, let's hide you for a moment. Grab this guy, and I'm going to create some guides on this mesh. So Yeti, create group on mesh, and then I'm just going to grab this guy and say groom, and drop him in there. Cool. So let's just go here, edit groom, and where's the tool settings? There you are. It's a horrible way of working, but actually in this case it might be fine. God, this camera's pissing me off. Let's go back to perspective. Has a lower focal length. Alright, so let's delete all this stuff. In fact, let's set the environment to template mode. There we go. Right, so let's go into the add tool. In fact, no, let's go to scatter. Is that a good density? Strands, minimum strand distance, let's increase that a bit. That might work. Cool. Sculpt that. So I'm just going to go in and sculpt them all in basically the direction I want. Oh, turn off that. So we're going to need to resample all these. And for now, I'm just going to go for basic shape. Like, I don't know what I want yet. So I'm not going to worry too much about each guy being perfect, because for this sort of groom, again, this is not how you do characters, this is not how you do creatures. I'm just doing something. I don't know what it is yet, like this shape. So sculpting multiple guys at the same time, sure, why not? No reason not to. If I was trying to match a reference, this is an awful way of doing it. The correct way would be to instead take one curve at a time and get the right shape. But because I'm kind of exploring, it's pointless doing that. I don't know what I want yet. We can try something like that and see if it works. So let's just go channel, oh no, not channel box, attribute editor, graph, input grooms. Cool. Now let's get into that Yeti graph editor. Create an import. And we're still going to be using this crazy strong Scraggle, so I just need to connect this to the clumps. So let's go pipe monster. I don't want that. Wrong place. There we go. And just put that into the grow. Cool, and then let's create a comb and connect that up too. There we go. So length might be a bit much. Let's try giving it test render. Again, I don't know what I'm making. In fact, I kind of want to throw the idea of the straight hair thing out. Not straight hair, sorry. The kind of wet hair. Although wet hair makes sense for this, so maybe we'll throw this out. Who knows? Let's just do a test render. Is that Scraggle really doing enough? I don't think it is. So let's get into our outliner. Hide you. So I don't like this shape. I've decided that much. So let's get back into you, edit groom. This might be one of those grooms where we come away from it and do it again a different day. We'll see how it goes. I'll work on it until 9. We'll see what we get. So let's try more like something that's spraying out of this pipe. Something like that kind of works. That was a voice crack, not had one of those in a while. So let's give that a go. Looks interesting, but it might be too long. Has like a smoky feel to it though. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, let's give that a test render. to get the displacement on these working. Currently it's an overly strong bump. Yeah, the hair needs to feel matted, I think, for this to be worth doing. So let's get into here. So, quickest way to matted is by adding a ton of twist. Well, that's really not working though. It's chaotic, but that kind of chaotic I want, really. Well, that is doing something cool. Well, I've got no control over this, but I kind of like it. Back to the usual. Test render that. It looks interesting, at least at a viewport level. It doesn't look good. It looks better than that. I kind of dig that, actually. We should get a basic hair shader on there so we actually know what we're looking at. I also need to find out how to assign subdivision to multiple objects at the same time. So you need to get the bricks with subdivisions because bump is doing too much work. So I feel like what this would need to work is to have some chaotic clumps going through it. Which we could do relatively easily, to be honest. But I feel like two little eyes poking out this could be quite cute. Let's get a hair shader on that. So let's assign. Hey Aaron, how you doing? Assign new material, shader, standard hair. So I'm going to have to build this in a way that is more friendly. Let's set melanin to 0. The trick that I learned in the last stream is to do it with color rather than the actual melanin amount, because that allows it to have a overly strong transparency to it. And as I've said before, this needs to be increased. So let's set this to a very low number. 0.5 maybe? It's basically black, but it's not the same as having melanin at 1. We need to make this in a more viable way. Oh, I also need to name this. Pipe monster for fuzzies map. God, these bricks are doing my head. Out of curiosity, what would they look like if I did give them subdivision? Let's just. Oh well, it needs a bevel as well, doesn't it? So this is gonna break. Let's just try it anyway. Fuck it, why not? Yeah, it would need subdivisions. yeah, that gets fucked. You can tell when a shader's not built with subdivision turned on. Luckily, we only see these from a distance, but still. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with the eyes as well, how I want those to look. Yes, we need to make that more controllable. So I'm going to save this scene. and then I'm gonna alt save it. So just so we got a backup. So let's make that in a more friendly way. I guess best way to do that would be to remove this curl, twist even, and just throw a ridiculous scraggle on here. Although it won't work quite the same way, will it? It's going to give a different effect. Because it's not structured anymore. I wonder if there's a way to do that where it keeps what would be yeah, because I guess the reason that works is because it's still following the shape. It's not completely random. It's got structure to it. So I might just need more of that noise. Let's get that noise in there. Let's change. So we can't turn that down. Yeah, because that breaks it completely. So these both have to be set high. Increasing max distance does that, which I don't want. Wait. Nope. What would be the way to do this? Flyaways? Oh, flyaways look funky. Don't like it. Because I feel like just relying on this twist is not the right way to go about it. But it really does do something interesting. So maybe that just happens to be what we need in this case. And I don't need this thing to be stable in production. I know that much. So we want random clumps to be running through this. So what's the best way to do that? We're going to need a duplicate of that guy. In fact, we're going to need a duplicate of that entire top row. And we're going to need that to be a much lower density. So let's go 20 times less. Oh, this is going to get messy. This is going to get so messy. But kind of what we need. Oh, I can actually branch those together rather than doing that. Because I really don't like that workflow I was about to do. Okay, so we got that much. Let's duplicate that. And then clump these to them. And just set this to be denser. Set this Oh god, this is getting complex. This is why you shouldn't do grooms 100% procedurally. This will work though, which kind of haunts me, to be honest. So what we need is to convert this guy from fibers to strands. Ignore that, go to U, put U into the grow, then plug that into a comb. Don't worry, I'm disappointed in me too. So now I can actually reduce the space of traction, and it still follows. So that might work. Let's merge these together. Disgusting, but it works. Scatter. There we go. So now we've got some clean clumps traveling through all that mess. So I guess we need another scraggle down here. Again, I cannot stress enough, this is not a clean way to work. The only reason I mean that, the only reason I'm doing it like this is because I don't need it to ever move, and the groom is going to be finished by 9 o'clock. So, so I don't have time to really build it properly. Well, I technically have time, I just don't want to build it properly, I guess is a better way to word it. That might look really cool. I need to find a way to get it to stop going through the pipe. But that might look cool. Let's give that a test render. I really can't stress enough though, this is not how you should build a character in any way, shape or form. Does anyone have any questions while I do this? Other than have you gone fucking insane? Let's quickly test to see how visible those extra clumps are. Yeah, so this is like unstructured like completely, whereas this has, when it starts rendering, we'll have some extra stuff in it. If it starts to render, there we go. Might put the density even higher. There we go, so now they're really visible. So now we just need to get that clumping. Let's set the bias to be like there. If I can remember which way around it is. That fattens them up. This has slimmed them down. Yeah, it does. Alright, so let's go like there. So I might need to make it smaller because it seems a bit too attention grabby at the moment. But I kind of like it. So we're going to need to make two little eyes to kind of poke in this thing. Let's go make some eyes. Again, super speedy, no texturing, all ramps. Perspective. So, cube, smooth, 2, 3, that'll be enough. Deform, sculpt deformer. That's now the correct size. get that. Wouldn't be the best one to use. I guess that's fine. I just need to go to a division higher. There we go. Though it does need to be bigger, doesn't it? Because this is a creature eye we're talking about. There we go. So that works fine. Now let's create a cylinder. Modify, send to pivot. Do that there. Extrude. Cool. Is that done? Project these UVs from the front. Let's go planar map. And then I need this to be from the Z-axis. Cool. And then I need you to be the same. Cut the middle. That's the middle. UV. Cut. That's the front half. Good. Unfold. The unfold tool is doing some really funky stuff. There we go. Then we need the back half, UV shell, grab you and move you completely out of the way. Cool. So now last thing we need is a black plane. I should set that to be minimal. Cool. So the combination of these three is an eye. Let's call that temp eye group. Cool. Let's hide you. And we're going to need a few materials. So first one, this one is pupil geo. This one is iris geo. And this one is cornea geo. Cool. Let's get a material on you. And then let's just call this one cornea matte, which it should be the only one in the scene. Let's just call it pipe monster cornea matte, just to avoid any confrontation. So we're gonna need to do some masks and shit, but for now I'm not gonna worry about that. Am I on temp cam? I'm not on temp cam. So let's get the on render view going. And let's give this a bit of refraction. Cool. So let's go see if we can remember where we do this. Caustics, enable that. Cool. Oh, I do have it selected. Alright, cool. Assign new material. This one can be a AI constant, if I can find it. Is it AI flat? Is pupil matte. Cool. Then this guy needs that. Let's give that material as well. Standard surface. And now let's just make it darker. Cool. So let's get this material working now. Oh wait, did I didn't name that material. Pipe monster iris matte. Cool. So let's get this material working. Just do that. I temporarily need to do this. So let's go create a ramp texture. So one thing I learned while doing some look dev was that if I just plug this straight into transmission, it will work. But the problem is when I plug it into subsurface to get some subsurface going, that doesn't like automatically work because it tries to do subsurface at the same time. So I'm just going to create a reverse node and plug these in and then plug that into the subsurface amount. Which let's see if we can, there it is. Cool. So that ramp, if I just quickly play this, set that to none. And now let's set that to a circle ramp. Need that to be inverted. Cool. I get it to roughly where we need it. Normally a little bit past where we need it, to be honest. Something like there. And then what I like to do is just do that and set that to linear. Cool. And then we just need a color. So let's create another ramp. This one will also be a circular ramp. Wrong place, circular. This one will go into our subsurface color and our and our base color. So what this one now does is set the color of our eye. So let's go for a more creamy. which way. So that to be more red. Beautiful. So let's make that a lot more subtle. Somewhere like, come on, play nice. There we go. And I guess towards the middle, we tint the eye towards black. So what I'm now looking for is the edge of the eye. There we go. So that's where I found it. Let's put that about there. Put that in the middle to give us softer. Cool. So now let's select that guy. He needs a material too. Although I should probably change my SSS radius actually. It's also set to V2. Let's go 0.1. Okay, that'll be why it was looking bad. 0.5. I wonder why the colors weren't doing what I expected. Cool, so let's go back into that ramp. I'm going to also set this to smooth, so we don't get those lines in the middle. Cool. So, desaturate everything. Could get rid of this. So what color do I want the eyes to be? And do I want them to have that super reflective look? I kind of do. Gotta be honest. So we're gonna need the same matte plugged into both of these. So let's go graph this guy. SG. Let's create a ramp. Cool. We're also going to need some anisotropy actually, so let's create a ramp for that as well. For now, I'm just going to plug that. So like a grey, read that into our reflection color and our diffuse color. I'm aware of the fact I set those in the wrong order. Cool. So we're going to need anisotropy, which actually temporarily means I'm going to have to disconnect that, just so I can really see what I'm doing. Cool. So anisotropy. Let's say it's a full strength. And then for rotation, ramp, texture. We need this to be a radial ramp. Where are you? So let's set that to 3.5. Set this anisotropy to a lower number. Cool. And now I can plug that back in. Cool. And then temporarily just make it super red. Circle. That could look interesting. So let's get that group. And let's call this pipe monster L. So this is about to get super fucking weird. Modify center pivot, I guess. Oh, I need the grooms visible too. So what we have to figure out is how big do we want them to be, and also what size do we want them to be. So I'm going to duplicate that and move it just there. I'm going to duplicate, group both of these, and just call it pipe monster I group. And this one has to be called right, although that's screen right, so this one should be left. So this one needs to be right. Cool. Put that about there. Modify center pivot, and that just allows me to scale them both at the same time and move them together. Although to be honest, I'll probably scale them like that. Cool, so let's give that a quick test window. See how crazy this looks. Absolutely fucking stupid. That subsurface is blown out again. There we go. Let's just set it to like 05. So, okay, so that was fine. Pointed directly at the camera. Oh, that's the cornea I was moving. A nice little trick is when you're rotating things based on an object, if you look at the axes, if they cross the center of the object, that object is looking at you. There we go. So they're too far apart from each other. They're also too big, aren't they? Let's make them smaller. So once I've figured out the position of these and the size, I'll want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to model kind of a stem going to them. Let's check the render cam. Oh, I'm gonna have to completely out of focus. Love it. Let's go panel, render cam, that's close up. Luckily this always works. So now that they're now looking directly at the camera, not that you'd be able to tell. So let's change back to our temp cam. Luckily, it's still looking mostly in the direction of this. Although I think for the sake of preview renders for tonight, I'm going to aim them at this camera. I could do quite a few of these eyes, like a little bunch of them. You know what? For signs. Alt save. So let's just grab these eyes one group at a time. I kind of dig that. I feel like this one needs to go deeper in here. And that, as a result, needs to move to there, maybe? Or should that go here too? Literally the last possible one for me to click. So you need different sizes, don't they? Maybe the ones on top should be the smallest. Kind of dig that. Need a bit more of an arch. I could parent them to the camera so they're always watching. Or aim constraint them, even not parent them. How do I make these feel like they're sat in the right place? it be worth doing? It's like an extra one that kind of caps the ends. If I did that on both ends, how would that work? That makes it feel off balance, doesn't it? I mean, not that it ever felt balanced to begin with, let's face it, but oh yeah, the subsurface is now way off on the sweets. Because they're like scaled down. How much smaller are they now? 0.98. Alright, that's kind of convenient. So just add a 0. Could probably link that to the object scale to automate that a little bit. I feel like I need those like solid clumps that go through the middle to be more solid. Let's think it was this one. Let's set that to 3 times more dense. And set the regular hair to be less dense. Is that updating? I don't think it's updating. I need to find creature designs with lots of eyes. Creature with lots of eyes. Oh Google, you don't disappoint. Images. So we don't want to go down the path of that guy or that guy. The idea of a double pupil is actually really cool. The rest of this monster annoys me, to be honest, but this double pupil thing is interesting. That is literally the creature we're making right now. They're really nice. Spacing a straight line and a triangle. What's the name of that? Isn't there a fish in the Simpsons movie? Oh, it's a squirrel. Could that be a reference? I think how close the eyes are together is important. These being spaced out makes it kind of strange. Let's try putting them all really close together. So I'm going to save this. I'm also going to save a snapshot actually. Window, where is it? How do you save a snapshot? It's escaped me. Oh, store snapshot, there we go. Cool, and I'll save my scene. So I'm going to make sure I don't move the camera. So let's try putting all these really close together. Let's layer them as well. I need to remove one of the eyes for that to work, but so be it. All these to point at the camera. And we also need them to at least be somewhat consistent with that backwards movement. Right, so get back to the temp cam. Oh wait. Weird how much some of them really aren't far off. And last ones. Oh, that works so much better. And that's why I'm not a designer, because I don't know how to handle this shit. So let's do something that I'm gonna regret and put all these in the same group. And move that, rotate it slightly further. Should I have like one tiny eye just like sticking out here or something? Tiny eye doesn't work, bad idea. Modify, center pivot, scale. Right, I'm going to let that clean up for a moment so I can do a fair comparison. Do we need a fourth eye? That fixes a lot for me. Makes it feel less manufactured. feel like this whole thing should move forward slightly. Because what I'm thinking is the stems that would connect these to its non-existent body would kind of travel into the middle, right? Which means these need to be further forward from the middle. Like that. The next issue is that they've all got the exact same openness, which doesn't make much sense. Let's modify 3 transforms on this guy. And just for the sake of a test, I want to rotate these towards the sun. We get quite a nice caustic effect with that. So I might need to create a light and light link it. Create lights. Oh, wait, no, I need to go through the Arnold menu. Lights, area light. Depth in those iris. Then I'll light link it. Should it be, technically it should be more at the angle the actual light is coming from, right? At least to give some illusion of it being physically correct. I need to make sure it's normalized. Oh, it is normalized, cool. That gives so much more depth. So then I need to light link that so it doesn't affect everything else as well. Because without it, that's how it looks. Which to me screams dull. That looks so much better to me. Yeah, that's why we need to light link it. It is blowing out the actual corneas though. I'm not sure how light linking would work with just connecting it to the iris. You would hate my setup. It's cursed. It's literally because I just wanted like complete chaos. It's the most disgusting Yeti setup I've ever done in my life. It's the most disgusting Groom setup I've ever done in my life. I won't even go as far to say just Yeti. But yeah, because basically the guides are doing almost no work. Like everything is coming from Clump Twist, and I don't really understand fully how Clump Twist like functions. Like in terms of, yeah, I know it twists the hair around the center of the clump, but I don't know how it calculates that. So it just results in complete chaos that I don't know how to achieve any other way. So, but yeah, anyway, I'm gonna quickly go into Windows Relationship Editor. So I'm gonna name this light actually. Let's just call this AI Area Light. Let's just call this Pipe Monster LGT, and we just need to delete these guys, and let's go into the relationship editor, and then light linking, light centric. So that's got every brick in it. Alright, it's gonna take some time. Oh, it actually didn't take some time. Alright, cool. So what happens if I Let's just work through all these. No, because it casts evenly then, so it has to be on these corneas. It does so much though on its own. I just got to decide if I actually like it or not now. After doing all that. I like the highlight it gives. Feels like it's not casting shadows correctly though. Let's try moving this. Oh, kind of like that. That's interesting. Not what I want in the slightest, but kind of cool. Set a little bit more. Whack the samples up too. We're going to need to light link it off of the fog as well. Yeah, it's blowing the eyes out. Go comically big. It just softens the reflection. That's a shame. But yeah, the Yeti setup, just so you can be disgusted. So because modifiers are doing everything, or nodes are doing everything, what ended up happening is we start off with that, which, yeah, that's fine so far. Yeah, nothing too major. A bit kind of predictable though. So I added kind of a clump scraggle just to break things up a bit. Then I've got a regular groom, which is just doing its thing. So to get the clumps to behave themselves, I had to obviously convert these clumps into guides and use that to drive the length, just so it clumps in a way that's more predictable. Not correct, but more predictable. And then the clumping does like literally all the work. The clumping is doing absolutely everything on its own. And the way it's kind of creating all that chaos is with a twist of 10. Set to 0, that's what it looks like. Adding noise doesn't really do what I want. Adding anything other than twist doesn't really do what I want. So I've got all that. Then add some strays, which is kind of pointless. A bit of general scraggle. And then I've got this second groom that kind of comes in fact, that's probably the one that I don't really like the look of the most. So let's fix that guy up. And he's doing pretty much the same setup, which is, again, disgusting to me. Like, I don't like this setup I've done. It's just because I wanted to get something done quick. So let's just quickly go into this guy. Something like that. Let's get a little bit of max distance in there. Cool. I'm gonna throw a scraggle in there as well, actually. Beautiful. No issues here at all. But yeah, I've pointed out, so don't worry, I'm not teaching people how to do this shit. I've pointed out several times that this is not how you should build a groom, like, at all. The only reason it has to be built so strangely is because I'm going overly procedural. Like, I'm not actually controlling anything. Like this, most of what I'm getting is a result of artifacts. Or like unexpected, completely uncontrollable stuff. Let's get a good frequency in there. Get some random on that too. Should try getting some club twist on this guy too. This is why I don't know what clump twist is doing. See, it doesn't work the way that Action does, like, at all. So let's zero that back out. Yeah, it's a really bad groom, but it looks interesting. So I'm letting it live. Now that we've made this a bit more controlled, we might need to step down the strength of it a bit. Yeah, let's reduce the visibility of these guys. Step that down. And then let's step the chaos guy back up. What I'm wondering is, do we even need to model the stems to attach the eyes? Because we only ever see this from the front at a distance out of focus. I feel like it'd be nice to add some jitter to the colour, so I need to learn how to do this, so let's give it a go. It'd be nice if the eyes were like slightly different colours. I know Arnold has a way to do this. Like, I know it does. It's just a case of whether or not I can do it. Colour jitter. If it's literally this simple, I'm gonna cry. Let's just move the hue. That's so cool. So let's step that down 1.5 and this one 0.5. Honestly, I was expecting that to be much harder. There we go. A little bit of variation in there. Don't like these two clumps over here, so I'm gonna correct for those. Just quickly grab the groom. It's literally just these guides need to be pulled in. So, and I know the correct term is strands, but I believe in using more general terms. So let's hide you, grab you. Better. Well, it's still not great. Let's see what the performance is like. Not good. Kill that idea. So, edit groom, tool settings. Cool. That's better. Something I might do is go into Yeti Graph Editor. Let's just change the seed. That just moves the clumps that we're getting. I actually kind of like that last one. I feel like they should be more subtle, but let's give that a test run though. Like I feel like it should be a mix of less noise, but less hairs too. So less noise makes them sharper, and less hairs makes them less visible. I treat hair density almost like a transparency slider, to be honest, when I'm talking about grooms. So I think something that's important to be able to do is to think about things purely visually, because it kind of pulls you out of worrying too much about exact numbers and what things are, and allows you just to make whatever it is you want to make. So they're too big, I think. So let's get our, why did we get the UV editor? Why is it even there? I don't wanna. Yeah, that works a lot better. Also feels more like a creature with these little tendrils. Let's get into that temp cam. I'm gonna add a little bit of depth of field just to pretty up this render. So the eyes are what distance? 7. Shit. They're really close. Right, so let's go to Arnold. Just see how out of focus he's again. There we go. This softens the image slightly. Makes it nicer to look at. The sheer chaos of this thing. I need a little bit more variation in these guys. Yeah, because these are all doing the same shape. So let's start getting a bit more control in here. Granted, this Grim's completely out of control. Like, if I was asked to do something for a supervisor, I'd shit myself. Like, because this ain't gonna work for anything other than these exact shapes that it's doing right now. The only way you can control them is by sheer luck, which is my kind of Grim. Feels like it removes accountability. So let's just do something like that. We should have at least one of them do. Oh, it can't go behind the mesh, can it? I forget about that every time. Which is simultaneously a great feature and an awful feature. In fact, Yuri, is there a way to turn that off? So like, a guide is set up so that it can't pass the face normals, right, or the object normals. But that means on objects that are, you know, not closed, like this one, it completely freaks out. Like, it doesn't know what to do the moment you pass the object. Is there a way to turn off that collision? I assume there is. I'd hope there is, because mesh collision isn't always what you want on guides. And there are a couple, very, very few examples where you'd not want that. At least professionally, I've had a few times where I've had to ignore mesh normals for like certain shots and stuff. Obviously can't go into details on that. Get a bit more shit going on here. There we go. Oh yeah, that would help. That looks better. Just let this render for a moment. the size of these eyes needs to vary a bit more, doesn't it? As in like that base layer at least. Oh, that's kind of interesting. One of those ones in the middle needs to be way bigger. There we go, that's starting to work. Just make it feel less like samey. There we go. I feel like some of them should be more closed than the others. Can you repeat that? If this was a question for me. Yeah, so sorry, this I wasn't checking the chat. So basically, when a guide curve passes behind the normals of the mesh it's on, it freaks out. So if I just quickly do that. So let's just quickly save this. So these guides are going from just a plane, which means that if they pass the normals of the mesh, they freak out. Like they can't pass mesh normals. Like they just straight up can't do it. It's something that bothers me a bit. I'm sure there's a way to turn it off. There has to be a way to turn it off, but I don't know where. Oh, that could be it. Nope, that's not it. I've never been able to find a setting for that. And it's really annoying. I know why it's on by default, because it is helpful, especially for beginner groomers who don't really know, you know, to avoid, you know, the moment you try to simulate something that's intersecting, you get fucked. But I feel like for professionals, it should be an option to turn it off, because we know when we can get away with breaking that. For example, right now, when he's not ever going to move. And I know one thing I could do is extrude these normals back, or extrude the mesh back to give it something to not intersect with. But, you know, that feels like a workaround for a problem that shouldn't exist. Which, to be fair, is most CG workarounds. Most of them are problems that shouldn't exist. The best bit is the moment we render this from the actual render cam. That's what he looks like. I really love what's happened to this camera. Like, at some point my perspective camera's become a 360 camera. And I kind of love it. I'm just going to quickly frame that a bit better. Two solutions. Simply turn on checkbox saying no collisions. Make the mesh volumetric, not flat. Yeah, so volumetric, I kind of assume that will help. So turn off collision. So is that on the mesh itself? So I'm assuming you mean like this collision objects one. It's currently set to off, so I think just making the mesh, you know, giving the mesh a volume is probably the only way really to go about it. But it was worth a go. Let's get that. Um, 10.15. No, in the groove itself. Oh, but that is what this one is, unless I'm missing something. Sent a photo. Let's check that out. Oh, right, okay. It's in the tool settings. Come on. Ah, right, okay, that makes sense. Cool, cheers, man. Base surface normal. Yeah, I missed that checkbox. I was looking in all the other places. There we go. Yeah, cheers for the help, man. Really, really appreciate it. I think for the sake of a render, I really want to have the mouse just peeking in from the side. Let's just quickly do that, because I'm at that point now where this string is basically done. I'm just going to set up a final render for the end of the day. So let's get this mouse in this shot. So hide you. We need the mouse. So rendering, texturing, create texture reference object. Let's unhide that Yeti. Oh, okay. So when you reopen the scene, that will be gone. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Cheers for the info, man. It's really appreciated. One day I'll know Yeti well. This is really struggling to do its thing. Might have to running stateful scene. I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna hate myself for it. What if I sense pivot? Wait, does Yeti react to scale? No, I thought not. Because it's only referencing the position. Honestly, I'm impressed at how quick Yeti and Arnold work together. This mass is actually much bigger than I originally thought it was. There we go. That's not good. There we go. What kind of GPU do you have? I'm only running a RTX 2070. I bought this computer back in November or end of October 2019. So I knew that there was going to be some good GPUs around the corner. I didn't realize how good the 3080 would be. But I went a bit cheap on the GPU because I was hoping to spend later. I'll be upgrading this year though to get a 3080. Maybe a 3090. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure because I don't do much GPU work anyway. Currently I'm CPU rendering with a 3950X Ryzen. The 16 core one. Which again has been passed immediately. I love how in the world of PCs, like, whatever you have is good for like a month. And then it's shit. Should I start doing some lens shit? Let's go render cam, no temp cam. I need to make sure I don't save as I go. So let's go Arnold. Just get some weirdness going middle ends. What happens if I crank this? Oh lord. So it has to be sol. 0.05. What's the focal length on this guy? 120. Okay, so that should be fine. That's not an issue in the slightest. I love how hacky this grim is. It's so dumb looking, and I know that it literally has zero control, but I kind of love it for that, to be honest. Need some text up here. I'll do sarcastic text again. You're a rich groomer. I mean, now that I've moved out of London, I definitely have more money than I used to. But yeah, I just, yeah. I'm not going to comment too much on money. Because I know that being in a position where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get a 3090 is decent. I spent too much on my guitars to really afford anything else, to be honest. And let's go to, what was it I was making? Oh, text. Oh, fuck. Big boy. Hey, Creeps. How you doing, man? Yeah, I'll probably be heading off fairly soon. I'm literally just setting up a end of stream render. Well, feel free to look kind of, through the video. So, what we're gonna write. What can I write that's really sarcastic? Yet again, I have spent valuable hours of my life. Well, my hours aren't valuable. Let's just check the size of that thing. C. Alright, so them in the background, out of focus, but readable. Ah, you're doing that. There we go. Been playing more with Etched and convinced it's better than on Matrix now. I've never actually tried on Matrix. It's something I need to get around to doing at some point. This should be a separate object, shouldn't it? Let's duplicate that. Oh, it doesn't keep its fucking... Oh no. I'll let that render. Also going to put it in a higher resolution. That'll be my end of stream render. Good for newbies like me and struggle with eyebrows. Yeah, eyebrows, to be fair, eyebrows are something that a lot of people get wrong. And I say that as if I get them right, which, you know, there's debates to be had there. But eyebrows is something that people either oversimplify or massively overcomplicate. I'm on the overcomplicated side. I spend too much time doing guide work on eyebrows. But they're one of those things that once you understand how they flow, they're pretty easy to get something that's passable. Which is my favourite kind of groom, to be honest. Something, if you can get something passable out really quickly, I quite like that sort of work. Right. Does anyone have any questions or anything you want me to talk about? Because if not, I'll be ending the stream. Download the update for Call of Duty, which is undoubtedly way too big. Should I have stayed at 1K? Nah, this resolution's fine. Leave that cooking in the background. I'll go play guitar while it goes. Alright, cool. Well, I'm going to end the stream here, guys. Yeah, thanks for dropping by and all that stuff. In the next stream, depending on how I feel about this, because I might completely scrap this and redo it. Don't know yet. Or at very least, maybe scale it down. It might be a bit too big right now. But yeah, so I'm gonna probably do the groom in the doorway or the groom in the sewer, which I do need to model the sewer actually, just so like the rock around him is a better shape. So far the hardest thing I've noticed when grooming is a beard. Yeah, no, beards are really complex because there's a lot of subtlety to them. Again, it's one of those things where people just go in and be like, okay, noise, and it's done. It's like, that's not really how it works. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to end the stream. Thanks for dropping by, and hopefully see you guys again on either Tuesday or Saturday, depending on if I stream this weekend. Bye, guys.